We thought we were out of the woods. Turns out we were just getting in them. Tashard Choice is leaving Texas to become the running backs coach for the Detroit Lions. I'm here to tell you that Texas will be just fine without him on today's edition of the BK Show. What's up, guys and gals? Welcome in to another edition of the BK Show. This is your one-stop shop for Texas Longhorns content on YouTube. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. Talking Texas Longhorns content every single day right here. We thought we were out of the woods. Tashard Choice turned down a potential job with the Dallas Cowboys. Then he got a raise at Texas. And you're thinking, all right, he doesn't want to go to the NFL. He's cool sticking around Austin. We have this guy for at least one more year. And hey, he wouldn't have accepted the raise if he didn't plan on staying, right? Right? In the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Turns out the Detroit Lions are a better football team than the Dallas Cowboys right now. Who knew? And a job offer from them is a little bit tougher to turn down. The Lions, the number one seed in the NFC this past year. Also, Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best running backs in football, and he was coached by Tashard Choice when they were together at Georgia Tech before Jahmyr Gibbs transferred to Alabama for his final college season, and obviously before Choice took the job here in Austin. So there's familiarity there. I'm sure those guys are close. The Lions are in a good spot right now. The Dallas Cowboys are not. So you understand, it's a Tashard Choice making this decision. We wish him the best of luck. He did a lot of great things here in Austin. This is not a smear campaign starting for Tashard Choice because he's gone. No, he meant a lot for this Texas football program. He was great at his job, both as an on-field developer and as a recruiter. He did a lot during his time at Texas, but the Longhorns are going to be just fine. Just fine. How do I know that? Well, the Longhorns lost Stan Drayton after Steve Sarkisian's first year, and people freaked out. You know, Stan Drayton, the guy who recruited Bijan to Texas, the guy who helped teach Rojo how to play running back and then helped develop him into an NFL draft pick, the guy who brought Jonathan Brooks to Texas. Yeah, that guy, Stan Drayton. When he left to become the head coach at Temple, people lost their minds. Like he was going to be some sort of massive loss, like he was irreplaceable. And hey, this is not a Stan Drayton smear campaign either. But I remember vividly, Texas was coming off of a 5-7 season, and people are like, oh my God, they're 5-7 and they're losing their best assistant coach. What are they going to do? What's going to happen? Well, what do? They went out and got Tashard Choice, who was tremendous for his 3 years in the ATX. I would say things worked out all right, didn't they? I mean, Texas has had so many great running backs over the years, guys and gals. That's not going to change. You go back to Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams, Sed Benson, Jamal Charles, Deontay Foreman, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Burke, et cetera, et cetera. There's more that I left out there. Those guys didn't all have the same running backs coach. Texas is always going to be able to get good talent in their running back room. And more often than not, the Longhorns are going to have really, really good, if not elite play in the backfield. They are going to be fine. And Steve Sarkisian has this thing built. There are a couple of coaches that if they left, I'd be a little bit nervous. I mean, it might only be 2 or 3. Steve Sarkisian's number 1. PK is number 2. Maybe Kyle Flood is number 3. Outside of losing any of those guys, this thing is built to the point where I don't want to say you could get you or me to coach a position at Texas because that wouldn't be good for the program. But this thing's going to be perfectly fine. Steve Sarkisian has this thing built. They've withstood coaching losses. They've withstood personnel losses, and they've gone to the college football playoff and the Final Four in back-to-back seasons. This thing is built to last. No, by the way, you look at the best programs in college football. If you want to be Nick Saban's Alabama, if you want to be Kirby Smart's Georgia, then you're going to have to deal with this because those elite programs go through that every single year. The team that just won the championship, Ohio State, they lost a bunch of position coaches. They lost both of their coordinators. You'd rather be Texas and lose a running back coach and a safeties coach in Blake Gideon than lose both of your coordinators, right? Point is, you can replace position coaches. And when you are one of the best teams in college football, this happens. This is a good sign. This is the sign of a healthy program. This is what you want. People don't poach coaches from teams that aren't very good. You poach coaches from teams that are winning games and competing for championships because that means the coaches are doing a good job and you want to bring them in to your staff. So this is just a byproduct of being back the way Texas is. And this is going to be an extremely coveted job, guys and gals. We'll spend future videos talking about, potential candidates to replace Tashard Choice. We'll see how long this takes. I don't know if Texas was expecting this. It sounds like Tashard Choice informed the Longhorns coaches this morning that he was leaving. So I don't know if Sark has had a bunch of time to prepare for this to happen, and he's already been making calls to people around the country to try to figure out what the contingency plan is once Choice left. But I don't think it matters very much. This is an extremely coveted job. Being the running backs coach at a place like the University of Texas, these openings don't come around often. And even when the program is bad, this is a gig that people would want. But you look at the Longhorns running back room now, C.J. Baxter, the number one running back recruit in America 2 years ago. Trey Wisner coming off of a 1,000-yard season. He's back. Jarrett Gibson, a top 3 tailback in America in the class of 2024. You've got Simon and Stewart coming in as early enrollees. It's a pretty loaded running back room that Texas already has on campus, and the Longhorns are in good position for a few guys in the class of 2026. And the good news with the timing of this, we're still 10 months away from National Signing Day, the early National Signing Day, but really it's the only one that matters nowadays. So this is not like super late in the recruiting cycle where it's like, oh my God, Texas has no shot at some of these top running backs now because they just lost the guy who's been talking to them for this entire process. No. This is happening early enough to where the new coach that gets brought in, and I assume this will happen within a week or two at most, the new coach is going to have plenty of time to cultivate relationships with those players. And by the way, Steve Sarkisian and some of these other Texas coaches have already been talking to those players too. But there will be more than enough time for the Longhorns to make things good with guys like Javion Osborne and some of the other best RBs coming in next year's recruiting cycle. But this running back room right now is one of the best in the country with the guys that Texas has coming back. Who wouldn't want to coach that? I mean, the Longhorns are going to have people lining up to be this team's running backs coach. Guys from college football, guys from the NFL. I mean, Sark's going to have his pick of the litter, and Texas is going to be able to swing for the fences, and I expect them to make a home run hire, just like they did with Tashard Choice. Again, Choice was hired after 5-7. Steve Sarkisian hadn't proven anything, and Texas was still in the midst of 12 years of non-refundable football. This job wasn't nearly as good as it is right now. All the talent coming back, Texas being one of the best teams in America, they are going to be able to bring somebody really, really good in. And I know we've talked about this in other videos, but I'll bring it up again. You've got to trust Steve Sarkisian here to get this thing right. I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt with some of the other assistant coaching hires that he's made. Look at Kenny Baker last year. People were freaking out. As good as Tashard Choice was in Austin, like Bo Davis had done much more in college football, both at Texas and at other jobs around the country. When he left to become the D-line coach at LSU, people lost their minds. And then Sark goes out and gets Kenny Baker. Who? Who's Kenny Baker? This assistant D-line coach for the Miami Dolphins. This guy hadn't had a job like this before. There's no way he's going to be able to come close to replicating what Bo Davis did in Austin. I'd say the D-line had a pretty good year in 2024. Don't you agree? I mean, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, those guys finally becoming consistent pieces up front. Texas with a bunch of transfer portal D linemen had one of the better interior defensive tackle groups in America this past season. The Kenny Baker hire worked out. The Chris Jackson hire. Texas had 3 receivers coaches in their first 3 years, right? Coleman was no good. Sark got rid of him. Brendan Marion was only here for 1 year. That guy was just looking to move his way up, and he continues to do that. Chris Jackson, it's worked out really well. Not a household name, but a guy who has had a ton of success developing wide receivers and recruiting wide receivers here to Austin. So some of the biggest assistant coaching hires Steve Sarkisian has made since he got here. Obviously, you've got a lot of guys from his initial staff who are still on campus. That's good news. But some of the guys who have left, he's replaced them with really, really talented pieces. Obviously, we'll see how this new safeties coach, Mark Orfe, does. But I'm confident that Texas, once again, is going to get this hire right. Steve Sarkisian has earned my trust. I think he's earned the trust of most of Longhorn Nation as well. So again, this is not a trash talking Tashard Choice video because he's gone. No, he was great at Texas. He did a lot at Texas. He will be missed at Texas. But the Longhorns made out fine the last time they lost their running backs coach. They're going to make out fine this time they lose their running backs coach as well. Sark has this thing built, and Texas is going to be able to bring in a star at that spot. And there's not going to be a drop off in the Texas running back room. And who knows? Texas's rushing game ranked in the 70s in college football this season. Maybe with a new voice in there, can be even better in 2025. I want to hear from you. What do y'all think? Will Texas be okay, or is Tashard Choice a bigger loss than I'm giving him credit for? Comment below with your thoughts. And I promise in some future videos, probably tomorrow, we'll talk about some potential replacements for Tashard Choice. Who's out there? Who should Texas be going after? Who can Texas realistically land? We'll get into that in future videos. That's going to do it for this one. Please like the video if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to the channel and keep it rocking and rolling right here on the BK Show. This is your one-stop shop for Texas Longhorns content on YouTube, bringing you bite-sized nuggets. Not going to make you watch an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours of content. We're getting you in. We're getting you out right here at the BK Show. Appreciate y'all tuning in. And remember, when you watch the BK Show, you rule. See y'all tomorrow. Hook 'em.